All right, let's dive into one of astronomy's greatest cold cases. We're talking about a whisper from the stars that lasted just 72 seconds, but for decades has been the most compelling and maybe the most frustrating piece of evidence for intelligent life out there. And it all comes down to this. Not some complicated equation, not a blurry photo, but just one single word, spontaneously scrawled in red ink. Back in 1977, an astronomer was looking at some data and saw something so completely off the charts he could only write one thing: wow. And what makes this so wild is just how brief it was. This incredibly powerful and totally mysterious cosmic signal lasted for just 72 seconds. And then, poof, it was gone. It just vanished back into the silence of space as fast as it appeared. So let's set the scene. It's the summer of '77. At Ohio State University, there's this massive radio telescope. They nicknamed it the Big Ear, and it's sweeping the cosmos. Its whole job? To listen, to search for any kind of signal that nature couldn't explain. Basically, to listen for aliens. A few days after the signal was actually picked up, an astronomer named Jerry Ehman is doing the not-so-glamorous work of sifting through these huge stacks of computer printouts. Now, the data used a code. Numbers and letters represented the signal's strength. And surrounded by a whole lot of nothing, he suddenly saw a sequence, 6EQJ5, that must have made him jump out of his chair. It represented a signal that was so strong and so perfect that all his scientific composure just went out the window. So, why the huge reaction? I mean, what made this different from any other random blip from space? Well, the WOW signal wasn't just strong, it had all the characteristics of a signal that was built on purpose, an artificial broadcast. It looked for all the world like the perfect message. The first huge clue was its frequency. Okay, think of it like this. Natural stuff in space, like stars and galaxies, they're like radio static, broadcasting noise across the entire dial. But an artificial signal, that's like tuning into a single clear radio station on one specific number. The WOW signal was incredibly narrow. It was a single, pure note in a whole chorus of cosmic noise. And then there was the power. My goodness, this thing wasn't a whisper, it was a shout. For that minute and 12 seconds, it was over 30 times stronger than the normal background radiation of deep space. It was so intense, it actually maxed out the telescope's detection equipment for a moment. And when you start to stack up the evidence, it just gets more and more compelling. It was broadcast at 1420 megahertz, what's known as the hydrogen line. Now this is a huge deal because it's a quiet, protected frequency, a channel that scientists have long thought would be the perfect, universal spot for any civilization to send a message. It came from a very specific spot in the Sagittarius constellation. Its intensity rose and fell in a perfect bell curve as the telescope scanned past it, exactly what you'd expect from a source deep in space. And really importantly, they ruled out any known interference from Earth. You can imagine the excitement, right? The team thought they had it. This looked like undeniable proof of an alien transmission. So the next step was obvious: find it again. And that is when the long and ultimately heartbreaking search began. I mean, right away, Jerry Ehman and his colleagues pointed the Big Ear right back at that same little patch of sky. And as the news got out, other, much more powerful observatories all around the globe joined the hunt. The hope was that this wasn't just a one-time thing, but a repeating beacon that they could lock onto. But that wait, well, it turned into a very, very long one. The initial excitement of 1977 slowly faded through the 1980s as dozens of follow-up searches found nothing. The 90s came, with dedicated SETI projects listening intently and still just silence. They heard nothing, absolutely nothing. The signal that had shouted so loud for 72 seconds just never came back. The trail went completely, utterly cold. This deep, profound silence forces you to consider other explanations. I mean, if it wasn't a message from ET, what else could possibly have created a signal that looked so perfectly artificial? It's time to round up the suspects. Over the years, two main theories have really taken center stage. So on one side, you have the extraterrestrial beacon. This theory fits the data like a glove. The frequency, the strength, the profile, it's all perfect. The only problem, and it is a massive problem, is that it never repeated. On the other side, you've got the leading natural explanation, a passing comet. The idea is that the hydrogen gas clouds surrounding a comet could, in theory, create a signal on the right frequency. But a lot of scientists are skeptical that a comet could create a signal that was so strong and so tightly focused. So let's actually score the theories here. The alien signal?
Yeah, it fits the narrowband profile, absolutely fits the intensity, but it gets a big no on repeatability. The comet cloud theory? Well, whether it fits the narrowband profile is debated. It's really unlikely it could have been that intense, but you could, in theory, see it again. Earth-based interference? No, that was ruled out. Which leaves us with an unknown natural event, which is basically a fancy way of saying we have no idea.
And that's pretty much where we are today. The WOW signal is not a closed case. It is still one of the most compelling and honestly one of the most perplexing mysteries in modern science. It's this single, perfect data point that just refuses to be neatly explained away. Because when it comes down to it, science is all about repeatable evidence. Without a second signal to study, to confirm, the WOW signal is always going to be this incredibly tantalizing, but unproven piece of data. And you know, even the guy who discovered it, Jerry Ehelman, became more and more skeptical as the decades went on. His own words are pretty telling. That lack of a repeat signal bothered him so much that he started to lean towards a much more mundane explanation, like a random radio signal from Earth that just happened to bounce off a piece of orbiting space junk. So we're left with this huge question. Was that 72-second burst a real message from another civilization that we just happened to be listening to at the exact right moment? A cosmic hello that we missed our chance to answer? Or was it just some bizarre one-in-a-trillion natural event, a cosmic fluke that serves to remind us that the universe is, and probably always will be, far stranger than we can possibly imagine? The case is still very much open.